Hello, KFC SuperCoaches. It's the team podcast, round 21. Origin players are back. All our big guns are back. But there is big news at the Sharkies. Matt Moylan's not there. Talakai is benched. Rob Sutherland, great to have you back on the show. What are the SuperCoach implications here?
Well, who knows, Thomas? I mean, it's all speculation. Would you like...
Thanks for your expert opinion.
I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yeah, I suppose. We'll find out. In the fullness of time, we will know. Thanks, Jared. Where were we? Oh, yeah, the Sharkies.
So,
right.
Moylan's...
Look,
do you want me
here's
to
the weird thing, right? No. Let's come back. So Moylan's gone because people are like, Moyser, he's crap, right? He's not doing anything for the attack. Well, really, they were giving him a hard time because he couldn't defend. You know, I was saying, James Maloney missed lots of tackles, but at least he could set up tries. Like, Moylan set up 2 tries. He just didn't set them up down the left. Talakai was, scored 2 tries 2 weeks ago, but he couldn't score any last week. So all of it really comes down to what's it mean for my guy Mulatalo, because really I couldn't care less about the Sharks, right? I don't like them. Sorry, Dave Riccio. Sorry, Buzz. But, Buzz has been smashing my Roosters, so this is my turn to give it back. No one likes the Sharks. No one. Like, there's 4,000 fans, and that's probably 2,000 that they've bust in that they're, like, showing apartments out the back. No one really likes them, right? So no one cares, except for the Mulatalo owners, and I'm a Mulatalo owner, and I care. And what do I think? I think it's probably better, right? Because Connor Tracy is a good centre wing, and Talakai is a good second row who's playing at centre wing. And Trindle is probably a better passer and certainly a better kicker. So I think Mulatalo is going to score tries. I just fear they probably won't come with line breaks because he's going to get them off the boot. There you go.
Great. It is great to have you back on the show. It really is. There was a rant. There was some
honesty,
analysis, some honesty. Buzz got taken down. Riccio got taken down. It was...
Mate, what Buzz did to my guy James Tedesco was absolutely... It was unkind. It was unkind, right? Like, as if Tedesco hasn't given enough to his state, to his country, to his team, right? And Buzz just smashes him for having a little bit of time at Byron with his wife who's pregnant. I thought it was harsh. And maybe it's a little harsh for me to do this without Buzz having a right to reply.
It's going to be interesting on Thursday when both of you are in the office together.
I think I might work from home.
Yeah. So Moylan has been axed. Talakai to the bench. Trindle... Does he kick goals?
He does not kick goals. He doesn't even kick goals for the Jets.
Right.
Marweni Hiroti does that.
I've been to 3 Jets games this year. I didn't even notice who kicked goals.
Mate, you couldn't even see. You were probably, 6 filters deep before you got in the gate.
Plenty of good craft beer there, that's for sure. Let's run through the winners. Nathan Cleary, he's back. False start last week. Shall we talk about your false start last week with Cleary?
I'm lachrymose, Thomas. Lachrymose.
I have no idea what that means.
It's nothing to do with lactose. I'm not lactose intolerant. I was very upset. Right? I screwed up. Do you want to hear the story?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it starts all the way back at the beginning of July when my wife says she's going to go on dry July, right? And I said, well, I'm on holidays. I can't do dry July. So what if I start in the second week, just after the second week when I go back to work? And I lined myself up on Sunday. I had 4 beers, like the big ones from Audi, the nice ones, and I'm going to drink those. I'm going to watch the football. Everything's great. It's my last beers, and I'm going to have like half of July, half of August. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be smart here. I'm going to get in Cleary for Sean Johnson because he's been named at 24, named at captain. Surely he's going to play. But I've got to make the decision before 2 o'clock, right? Because I'm trading out Sean Johnson. He starts at 2 o'clock. And I think, I'll pull the lever. I'll go for it, right? Sean Johnson at halftime is on 150 million, right? Having the game of his life, and I'm having to live with this commentary constantly. Oh, Sean Johnson, he's a bloody genius. He's the best form he's ever been in. I'm like, hating life, right? At halftime, I go and check the team list, and I'm like, did it not? No, did it not? I'm sure it's like I have to reread it 5 times. See, Nathan Cleary's not there. So I was pretty sad. Thomas?
It is just great to have you back on the show. We're, 5 minutes in, and I barely think I've got a word in. It's great.
It's the way people like it.
Yeah, probably. Speaking of getting a word in, you can get your word in either on Facebook or on YouTube. Heaps on Facebook right now. Thoughts, is Tino a hold or a sell? I think he's definitely a sell. For 3 weeks. He's copped that 3 weeks.
Too long. Unless you're head-to-head and guaranteed to making a finals. At which point he becomes this great get.
Yep. Fair enough. Tungo in for Mulatalo this week.
I got a hot take on that one.
Yep, go for it.
I think he goes worse with Cleary back.
Yeah, well, his stats are better when Cleary's not there.
Yeah, and Cleary's going to pull the ball right side. Tungo will go back to the left side with Stephen Crichton back, so he'll play right side. So I think it's actually bad for him. Great for the Panthers. It is against the Bulldogs, who, let's be honest, are going to probably leak a lot of points. But I think Cleary's return is actually a bad thing. Does that make him a bad buy? Probably not. But is he worth $700K? Probably not.
How about the first part of that question, though? Is Mulatalo a sell? Since I bought him in, he's averaged, 13 or something?
14, Thomas.
14, yeah.
28 divided by 2.
No, maths, maths is not my strong suit. But
that's
in
not
any
true.
case,
That's not true. When you were a schoolboy, you did quite well at maths, I hear. And trombone.
That's actually, I did much better at trombone than I did at maths, that's for sure. Mulatalo. So I brought him in based on your analysis that he's this 60 for 60 or whatever analysis thing that you throw up all the time. That he's basically one of the safest players going around.
Yeah, and he was.
He banged out 9 and 19 or whatever.
Yeah, 19 against the Tigers. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, like his second worst game, third worst game. Because he already in the start of the year he had like a 6 or something. So he's shown us he can do it. The weird thing is, like, he hasn't been far off. Like, you really watch a guy when you got him in SuperCoach, and you see, like, he's almost breaking the line and doesn't quite make it. And do you sell him this week? Well, he's only at 520K. He's probably worth holding at this point. The Sharks draw is not great, but I think you've got to hold him this week. I saw people selling Mulatalo and holding Joey Manu. And as an example, I think that's a mistake, right? If you've got a guy like Manu, 730K, and you can sell him where he's back to centre wing, he's not going to have the value, and hold a bloke at 520 who's really probably worth 520, I think that's the way to go.
I'd love to see what Mulatalo's average would be this year without balls dropped over the line as he's going for a try. On the weekend, he got pushed out as he was lunging out for the try as well.
By Sean Johnson. Thanks for bringing that up.
A little bit unlucky. Is it unlucky or is he?
He's a winger.
A little bit of luck, a little bit of.
He plays on the edge.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Joe Fitz has written in.
Oh no!
Hey Tom, what is the QR code for those extra trades? I'm getting a bit short. How many trades have you got left?
After this week, 2. But I don't need any.
Wow.
Because I've got loads of redundancy, Thomas. I've got cover for cover for cover. Oh, the team is deep.
My team's pretty deep too, but I'll have 5 after this week, and I think that I'm running short. So
and using 2 this week, right?
2 this week, yeah. So 7 coming into the round. Yeah. I'm getting very sidetracked here today, so let's get back to the run sheet. Latrell Mitchell is back as well. I don't think this is the week to get on, and I think you agree as well. Let's see how he comes back from that calf injury. Big BE. He also has that bye in round 26, which I'm worried about. That's SuperCoach Grand Final week if you're a head-to-head player. But he has 3 of basically the easiest matchups you can get also coming up.
Yeah, Big BE and Broncos, which is not necessarily... I don't think the Broncos are necessarily a disaster. Next week he's got the Tigers, the Knights, the Dragons, I believe. So those are 3 games that are definitely targeting. I think give it a week, see how he looks. And Blake Taft sitting there on the bench, which, they can coexist, but he can very much, if they're up and Latrell's, coasting around, they might take him off. Yep,
hopefully just insurance there. Moving on to the losers, Tino's out for 3 weeks. So as we mentioned, he is a sell unless you're a head-to-head player and you've got and you're doing well in your league. Tyrone Munro. So I've moved him from the winners to the losers because he hasn't been named. So he's been on fire for his first 2 games. This would normally be the week to get on, but I'm not sure if he's been dropped, but he's not in the squad at all. I own him already, and I'm not that worried about it because it means that he's just nuffed out. But I wouldn't be going out and buying him this week.
I wouldn't be buying him as enough, I don't think.
If you're going for enough, you go for a dual position guy like Howarth instead of Munro.
Yeah, correct. The flip side of that is those games we mentioned that the Rabbitohs have coming up, right? The Tigers and the Dragons. Like, if he's named, you'd actually play him. Like, you'd play him ahead of your more expensive centre wings. But that's a problem for down the road. I wouldn't buy this.
And Tane Milne's in on the wing. And Tane Milne had been dropped in the past, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with Munro, but we'll chase that up for late mail. Onto the buy list, we've got Harry Grant. Very popular this week. Obviously, buying your Origin stars back is the flavour of the week this week. and Harry Grant's just that far ahead at hooker. Plus, he's finished all his buys. The next best guy at that position is Damien Cook, and he's got that buy in round 26. So for me, Harry Grant, if you've sold him, you definitely need to get back on.
Correct. I mean, I've got Nikorima there as a backup hooker, but I don't really want to play him unless I have to. So that's one trade I'll definitely hold. That's one thing to keep in mind with your trades. Like if you've only got Harry Grant and Jacob Little, hold one trade.
Interesting to see if JMK actually plays again this year, given Bennett said he could be out for the season. They've got the bye this week, so we don't actually know. Cameron Munster, also at the Storm. I bought him in last week. Again, he's not as far ahead in a position. In fact, he's not even ahead in that 5'8 position, but he's still very good in that spot. I think 5'8 is a position to target, and I bought him in last week. I got Cody and Munster for the run home with Ponga at fullback, and I'm pretty happy with that.
I've got the same. I think, Munster at, $6.60 now? It's a great price for him. He was carrying a bit of a leg injury coming out of Origin, I believe. He had a cut on his leg, something like that. He was okay against the Roosters, but sort of did what he had to. I expect he'll finish strong. That's what he does. I had a look. He averages well over 70 against 4 of his next opponents and well over 60 against the other 2. He's just a pick and stick.
Yep. Same goes for David Fafita. Do we need to talk about Fafita? He's just so far ahead in that position. You just bring him in.
Correct.
Move heaven and earth to get him in.
Yeah. He does have a tough draw. But if one attacking forward is, able to play through the draw, it's him. He scored over 100 against the Eels, scored over 100 against the Raiders. Those are 2 of the stronger packs going around.
Yeah, and carved up against the Broncos as well. Payne Haas is back, speaking of the Broncos, so that's good news there.
Yep.
And let's speak nuffs now. So Miles Martin, very popular. He's the most popular nuff this week. You can flick him between 2RF and FRF. And the reason I like him is because he has so many late games coming up. He plays either Saturday or Sunday from here until the end of the season. So for me, he's the number one nuff floating around in SuperCoach right now.
I got him 2, but I have one little query, concern. It's that I saw on Twitter this conversation with Barry Toohey talking about how Jack Hetherington's an absolute lunatic.
Yeah.
To paraphrase. And people were like, who could play instead of him? And Barry threw up Miles Martin. No, that's the nuff we want to not play, right? So Jack Hetherington, please, keep it cool.
Moving on to the holds, I've got Mulatalo on there. Nico Hines, a lot of people are selling Nico Hines.
I don't understand that.
He's almost a pod captain option this week because I think a lot of people are going to go Cleary as captain, coming back and up against the Dogs at home. Hines, 70-odd last week when they got absolutely belted. Yeah. He's at home this week. I think you just lock him in as almost a pod captain. He'll still probably be the most popular captain, but a pod captaincy option for him.
It's the SJ owners looking for a way to get Cleary, right? And they're getting in Nico Hines because SJ is in tremendous form, and he is in tremendous form, and he's a really good-looking guy, and Nico's not so much. You have to put a polarising lens on for Nico to bring out the best of him. But back to the football, Nico's averaging 100, right? So he's selling a bloke who averages 100 for a guy who on a really good game gets 100. I don't get that.
Yeah, I think the shake-up from Fitzgibbon will fire up the Sharks too. I think they'll get a positive reaction from them this week.
Just getting absolutely pantsed on national television is not enough.
Well, I think, but there's a reaction from the coach who has stuck very strongly with Moylan, and I think he's probably put everyone on notice. Okay. That's all I'm saying. I think Nico will go well this week.
No?
Is Isaiah Yeo a good pod? That's coming through from Troy. He's been sneaky good this year.
Yeah, it's been sneaky good.
There are other guys in that position that I'd be going for. It doesn't have that massive upside that other guys do have.
Probably not. I'll start with him next year when he's centre wing dual.
Oh, please. Good to see Rob getting off the painkillers.
I am off the painkillers. I'm a bit perkier.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are. Been on holidays for a couple of weeks as well.
Downtown Ballarat. Beautiful place. Yeah.
Fafita or Tapane? Obviously Fafita.
Fafita.
You just have to go Fafita there. Onto the cells, Mitch Moses. He's done a pretty good job, but if you don't have Cleary, and you probably don't, here he is icing the game on the weekend. If you don't have Cleary, I'd be selling Moses to Cleary this week.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, as I said in the notes, it'll be a shame in round 23 when they put 60 on the Dragons, but that's a long way away.
Valence Tafare, very popular sell. Look, I thought that him for Munro made absolute sense this week, but then Munro hasn't been named. So do you just stick with Tafare? Does he play on the bench from here on in? That's the big worry. He comes off the bench, plays in the forwards, and gets 15 minutes.
Who knows? Who knows what Wayne's going to do, right? Because what Wayne's going to do is going to impact the next guy on the list, which is Jermaine Asako, who was going great guns when he had Cody Nikorima and halves feeding him. But no, Wayne had to go and pick Milford, right? Whose sole contribution to the game appears to be putting up, like, not a towering bomb, but just a high bomb. A bomb that sort of stops you drinking your beer and cricks your neck up to go, well, that went in the air. And the opposing player just sort of waits underneath it, catches it with no real dramas, and then runs it back to the 35-metre line. At which point Anthony stands there going, oh, right? Like, why? Like, the attack was working beautifully with Nikorima feeding the ball out there. But no, get rid of him and put in a bloke who's 5 years past his best. And that's being generous. I'm a bit annoyed about what Wayne's done, and I think I'm going to have to give him a call.
It really is great to have you back on the show. Let's go on to the avoids. Reece Walsh. Popular this week. I don't get it. The Broncos have a seriously tough run home. I know that Walsh, coming back from that suspension, of course, I know that he is in a breakout season and he's been absolutely killing it, but he doesn't have that base. And is he really going to get massive attacking stats up against the opposition that he has? He's playing top 8 teams, but almost from here till the end of the season. There's just the Roosters in there.
Thanks for bringing that up.
But, I mean, even the Roosters are pretty good defensively.
No, they can be. I would have said no until I saw the story that Reece Walsh owns a very expensive man bag, at which point he became a buy for me. That's a serious footy story. Look, everything you said about Reece Walsh is right. I think it's a mistake. Yeah.
Yep. And Adam Fanua-Blake, you've got him, Tino to AFB?
As a no for me.
Yep.
In that, like, Fanua-Blake played 65 minutes and scored 100-odd points with a try and a try assist. And I know he keeps scoring tries, but I much prefer a Tapane or a Corey Horsburgh. If you're looking for, I think they're going to average about the same, right? Because or score about the same. Because Fanua-Blake's got a bye coming up. Those guys don't. They're going to play that extra game. They've got dual position flex. I just feel Fanua-Blake's probably there are better options. Oh no, you're smiling.
Plenty of stuff. There's lots of love coming through for you, Rob. Glad to have you back. I've missed Rob's rants. It looks this from Matthew Granger on YouTube. Send them through on Facebook or YouTube. Rob looks like he just got out of bed, rolled up his sleeves on his flannel pyjamas, and hair lacking some shape.
Yeah, I could use a haircut, I'll be honest. Yeah.
And then the response to that is, Rob works for News Corp. If he isn't looking ragged, how else can he convince the bosses he actually works hard?
Is that from Alex Brown?
No. That's quite good. If we had Zinger of the Week on this show, which we don't, I reckon we'd give that Zinger of the Week.
Yep.
Moving on to each of the games. Dragons v the Tigers. Dragons have got...
Just move on.
No.
It's the spoon bowl.
This is big. This is big. Dragons have got all their big guns back. Sloan, Little, Hunt, all back into that team for the wooden spoon playoff.
I'm the one who's meant to do the comedy.
This is going to be a massive clash. Massive clash. The boys are taking this really seriously.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
But I wouldn't want any Dragon in my Supercoach team. At the Tigers, Nofaluma's back. They got Dane Laurie at 6, which is interesting in the wooden spoon playoff to take a bit of an experiment there. Johnny Bateman's chugging along pretty well.
Johnny has never finished last in his career. So obviously he made a mistake going to the West Tigers. Or we could always tick off every item, in the sort of treasure hunt of life. Hunt
of life.
Bateman's going well, but he's the only player in that game.
Even though they're going badly, he's going well. Jareen Buller, realistically...
Bounce back, had a good
bounce back. He just looks amazing, but he is starting to leak cash pretty badly. Warriors v the Raiders. Nia Kore's back for the Warriors. I just want to talk about CNK. Chansical Clockstad with the 5-round average of 84. On fire. His season average is 68 or something like that, even though he had 2 concussion-affected games. So he's killing it. Who's looking at
it? We're just getting shit from it. Oh, sorry, copying from out the window. Normally the blinds are closed. Where were we? Yeah, look, CNK's going great. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, absolutely braining it. Tohu Harris. Now, people are talking about selling Tohu Harris.
Yep.
He went off, he played reduced minutes. He went off, had his wrist strapped, I believe. but then came back and finished the game. He's not a sell for me. You only got to look at the week before. He scored like 95, 97.
Yep, I own Tohu Harris, and he's not in my 17 this week, but I think he's a perfect 18th, 19th, 20th. He's got that dual position. I looked at his consistency, and he's averaging 65 for the year. Basically 65 for a 3-round average and 65 for a 5-round average.
Yeah.
So you're just guaranteed that you're going to get a decent score. I'm going upside this week with someone in the back line, but if you've got an injury, just plug in Tohu into your 17 and you're getting 60-odd points.
What do you mean you're going upside with someone in the back line? You're talking about your trade or you...
I'm talking about just picking my 17. I'm going Mulatalo.
Oh, I see. Right, gotcha.
I'm going Mulatalo in the 17 instead of Tohu this week for a bit of upside.
Oh, always chase upside with your reserves. Yeah.
On to the Raiders. They got Papali'i back, Horsburgh back, Pasami Saulo back. So some big cattle back for them. Tapane is killing it. So 5-round average of 72, which is very good for that prop position.
And it'll be interesting, right? Because I think this is a game... Didn't the Warriors go to Canberra and put an absolute, a smashing on the Raiders, right? So the Raiders are going back over to New Zealand. The Warriors have their tails up. The Raiders have this sort of habit of, they've got a lot of Ricky Stewart about them, right? They hold a grudge, right? They take it personal when you embarrass them. They were embarrassed. I've got a feeling that this becomes a very feisty physical conflict.
Let's hope so. Rabbitohs v the Bronx. At the Rabbitohs, Latrell back, as we mentioned, Campbell Graham back as well, and Jai Arrows. So they're 8th on the ladder right now. They really need to start winning to make the 8 to start with, let alone the top 4. But no Munro. Who's standing out for you, Supercoach-wise?
Well, Campbell Graham, I think, is the centre wing people are sleeping on. In that, just before Origin, before the injuries, he was definitely 1 or 2, just super consistent. He's got that sternum injury. He's had lots of time to work it through. I'm expecting big things from him to the finish.
Yep, I agree. So mid-600Ks, which is extremely cheap for him.
Yep.
I don't mind it at all. Broncos, they got Walsh, Carrigan and Haas back. So 3 massive big guns back into that team.
And nothing I want other than Payne Haas.
Yep, Haas just solid as. Titans, they got Tino out, as I mentioned, and Brimson back too. Supercoach-wise, look, I know we've talked about David Fafita, but it really is only about Fafita in this team.
It is, unless you want to get crazy and go one of the back, of Sami or Brian Kelly or even AKP, like a cheapie, take an absolute flyer on. It's a little crazy, but they have some interest.
Well, coming up against the Roosters, they should be scoring a few tries.
Yeah. They certainly won't be watching the Roosters kick a convert many at this rate.
At the Roosters, Teddy is back. That means Joey Manu goes to centre. Obviously, this is not good news for Supercoach. At fullback, he's just involved in everything. No big attacking stats on the weekend. Still got almost 80.
Suali to the wing. Thank the Lord. Yeah.
Yep. Knights for the Storm. Knights got Gagai back. Kalen Ponga is in amazing form. But coming up against the Storm this week, it is at home, so it's in Newcastle. So that's a positive, but certainly not a VC or C option this week.
No, but I think you've got to pick him and play him. Greg Marzou, awesome. I think Dominic Young is just quietly like a top 8 or top 10. No, maybe it's top 8, top 10 centre wing. It's very impressive for a guy who's a bit sort of rocks and diamonds. Look, it's those are the players from the Knights. I can't see anything else. It's real interesting.
At the Storm, it's the same 17 for them. Obviously, Cameron Munster, Harry Grant are very popular this week. Cowboys v the Eels.
One thing.
Yeah.
Nick Meaney is a really good price, but I'm a little bit scared by Ryan Pappenhausen is now starting to pop up and show that he's doing, I don't know if it's full training, but it's close to full training. Look, when he comes back, he probably comes back off the bench and plays, 16 minutes and scores 2 tries. Maybe he doesn't threaten Meaney, but maybe he does. So
I think he returns through Queensland Cup to start with.
Maybe, but if you're looking for a punt at Meaney's at a good price, that's got to worry you a little bit.
Oh, look, Pappenhausen, he's very strong on the social media, so we'll know through his social media account before.
Probably will.
Which
is great. I mean, I wish more of them were like that.
Cowboys, so same 17. Valentine Holmes, 5-round average of 100. That's one of the biggest regrets for me this year, was selling him before Origin.
Yeah, me too. I'm in that boat. Drinkwater I never bought. Semi Valame, speaking of rocks and diamonds, but I think he's a really good price, 510k, and he's already got 2 big hundreds. Cowboys draw is reasonable. It's not the worst.
Yeah, Drinkwater's at 1.05 mil, so absolutely killing it at the moment. At the Eels, obviously, Regan Campbell-Gillard is suspended.
Mike Acevo probably will be named, but
he's been named. Yeah, so Dunster could go in on the wing, and I actually own Dunster as a cheapie from early in the year, so I'm probably preferring not to play.
Not there.
Panthers v the Bulldogs, Cleary, Crichton, Tu'o, Martin, and Yo all back into that team. Hosking, interestingly, if you're still holding him, maybe that's not right. I think Hosking is Hosking on the bench. I believe. I don't know. I thought Hosking was on the bench, and
you'd think we'd prepare better for the show.
I was going to mention that if you're still holding on to Hosking and he's playing from the bench, that could be bad, given that he might get 20 or 30 minutes. But it doesn't appear to be that way on the way.
2 p.m. at home, Panthers, Blue Bet. Look, Cleary is a guy who has come back from injury and come back at 100% and scored really well straight away. It's not like he's eased into the game. I know it's going to be a popular pick, but he's going to be my captain.
Yeah, I think I'll be going Nico as captain, but I'll be worried about Cleary, that's for sure. At the Doggies, they've got Flano at half-back for Sexton, who's out with injury. Viliami Kikau lurking on reserves as well. Anyone taking your fancy here? I'm holding Preston. He's going to be my 19th, 20th guy heading home, and just plug him in for 60-odd if you need him.
Carraz. If you're looking for a sub-500k centre wing, Carraz has sort of had a resurgence in form. His work rate's up again. He's the one player.
Sharks with the Sea Eagles is the final game of the round. As we mentioned, Moylan dropped. That means Trindle goes into the halves. Talakai bench, so Connor Tracy comes in there. So many Supercoach relevant guys here. Mulatalo, I think, is a hold. Will Kennedy is a guy who's pretty popular. I'd be selling
Will Kennedy and absolutely killed him, and my apologies. I bought him as like a safety fullback, just second choice fullback, and didn't do much. Really glad, this is going to come out the wrong way, but really glad Wade Graham is injured. Because if he was named at second row, Mulatalo had to go. Just doesn't work. The guys outside him don't see it because he sees the ball, sees the line, thinks he's going to go himself. That would have worked a few years ago for Wade Graham. Doesn't work now. So I was kind of glad about that. Thomas Hazelton didn't get a try, but deserved one. That was
I love that guy.
That was an awesome run. We didn't sort of let the guys know that it was coming, but
we should have got that. Yeah. We should have got that. What a guy, Tom Hazelton.
Yeah.
One of my favourite players. Sea Eagles, we got Lodge, who's into that team, so making his Sea Eagles debut. Not particularly Supercoach relevant, but anyone standing out for you here? Schuster was a big sell last week.
Ruben Garrick.
Schuster, dual position next year.
Oh, Schuster, yeah. I would say
probably just back row next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see he's already eating for back row. He was 15 minutes in last week. He was gassed, right? He's playing at 5'8". He was absolutely gassed. He was going in to dummy half. He could barely get the ball 5 metres out. He'd like flop it out, right? Just like apologetically just sort of throw it gently at someone's feet. And they would stand there and pick it up and look at him, and he's like, what can I do? Right? Like, that was almost his entire contribution to the game, except for one crossfield kick. What a waste. 800k, give me a break.
Anyone else standing out for you at the Sea Eagles?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say.
That's about it. Yeah. All right, we'll take a couple of questions. Last reserve, Harris, Bateman, Kennedy or Alex Johnson? Good problem to have, I'll point out. Alex Johnson's got the Broncos, so I'd go
AJ. They can make some slips out wide. Sunshine Coast Stadium should be nice and fast. Yeah.
It's that time of the season that the Broncos tend to implode as well. So
Kevy's just come out and said he believes they're an Origin. They're a premiership chance. So that should pretty much be it. Yeah.
Ronaldo to Tungo to sideways.
I don't think it is. I believe Ronaldo's going to find his form, and I do believe Cleary might be a bad thing for Tungo, and I think Tungo's price isn't great, but he's probably more reliable.
Rob, I don't quite get this. But let me know if you do. Rob looks like a wet towel that's been soaking in nappy sand for too long.
Clean? I mean, that'd be clean, right?
That's it.
I'm going to accentuate the positive.
Can we get red KFC merch next year? Sick of Sangster looking like the Grinch every teamless Tuesday.
Merch would be good. We've talked about that before we came on. Yeah.
I think we'll just call it a day. It's been a good show. Great to have you back. As I said, Rob, we'll catch you for the Game Day podcast at 11 a.m. on Thursday. We'll see you then.